What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Joel Friday TV. I am Joel Friday. Few announcements before we get started. Hit that like button, smack it. Lay the smack down, the like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your peoples about the show so we get the subscribers up and a message out. Sorry, I almost said what I read in a comment here. Subscribers up and a message out. Do it now. Help a brother out. As you guys know, we are live Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And at any point during the show, you can call in at 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773, and we could talk about whatever you want. The Georgia shooting. We could talk about your mama, your daddy, your life, your girlfriend, your relationships. We can get into whatever. Listen, I like to talk about it all, for the most part. So you can call in and we can get into it. If for whatever reason you can't call in, but you still got a question or comment that you got to get out, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JoelFridayTV. You can send your question or comments there, or go directly to YouTube live chat, hit the super chat button, send your question or comments there as well, and I'll read them live on air, y'all. We will read them live on air. You guys are probably wondering, what we talking about today? Oh, we gonna get into it. I see some callers on the line already. I will get to you in a second. Let me just lay some groundwork here for my show and the topic, and I shall get to you guys and whatever you guys want to get into. Cool. Let's get into it. A lot of stuff going on in the world. As you guys know, the Georgia shooting is going on. That is not the topic of discussion today, but I will get to that. If you guys like to talk about that, you can call in. And when you call in, you can get into that conversation. I don't mind. It's clearly a very entertaining topic that people want to talk about. But I want to get into some other interesting stuff first, and then we can get to that if you want to get to that. Okay, so callers, be patient. I will get to you in a second. Really quick. I know you guys see my my thumbnail and stuff. You're wondering what's going on. What is Joel talking about? Trans by definition. What does this mean? I already know the mind is going crazy and everybody's, but let me share with you guys. Let's get into it. Okay? So I was scrolling on Instagram and I seen this girl, fine. I'm talking about fine on Instagram. And it's a girl, by the way. I'm not going like, oh shoot, I found out she was transgender. No. This is not where I'm going with that. Okay? So get that out your mind. But she was fine though. I was like, dang, she's fine. And I was looking, I was like, wait, she just like too fine. What's going on here? She just too fine. This is like angelic type fine. So I looking and I'm like, oh, dang. That girl right there. I was like, she's just too pretty. And realistically, I was like, yeah, she's just really pretty girl. And obviously she's got a lot of makeup on and stuff right here. So, of course that makes it more than what it is. But I was just thinking like, oh, she just like pretty. And she has a bunch of other pictures too. And I'm like, wow, it's just like a beautiful girl. Just fine. I was saying fine. Right? In my mind, in my spirit chest, I was saying fine. But I look more at the pics, right? Because you just don't stop at one pic. Who in their right mind or who in their wrong mind is going to just look at one pic? Come on. Let's be real here. So, of course, I went on the gram. I went on her profile and I looked at the other ones. And I'm like, wait. Hold on one second. She too fine. It's too fine here. This little fishy, right? Joelle falling for AI. Chris, no, she's not AI. She's real. But just wait. It's going to make sense. So I'm like, she too fine. So I scrolled. This is like, I guess this picture was taken. Where does it say in the photo? June 23rd. So this year, 2024, right? Then I get to scrolling back by, and I scroll all the way down to like 3 years ago. Mind you, this is like on her profile. I think she had like 20 photos in general, right? 20. So I scrolled to like the bottom and it's just like 2021. And this was her in 2021. And I was like, hold up. Hold up. This ain't the same girl. This ain't the same girl. Can be. The first one, I was like, what an angel. Second one, I was like, what a setup. I like, this can't be the same girl. No. And she's pretty. Look, she's pretty still. But that's what she looked like in 2021. Look at the date at the bottom. June, whatever, 10th, 2021. So exactly 3 years ago, she looked like that. And then fast forward 3 years, in just 3 years, she looked like, hold on. Like this. In just 3 years. Just the bit. But then you're like, wait, are we sure it's the same girl? Let's just look one more time. And then you go to this one, and that was her 3 years ago. Today, 3 years ago. Today, 3 years ago. And then you get to wondering what happened. So then it made me start thinking about reality, right? Versus fantasy. And it made me start thinking about, wow, this person, and I don't know if she got any surgery done. If she got any surgery done on her face or not. I mean, it's a major transition, right? I don't know. I can't say that she's got any surgery done. But my point is still valid that I'm about to make here, right? And I'm gonna be quick. Is I see no difference in a transgender and this woman here. Matter of fact, let's put it up while we're talking about it. I see no difference in it. Okay? Reason why I say is because I don't see any difference in a trans woman, a trans person, like a transgender, one from one gender to another, or a trans beauty. Trans beauty. It's the same thing. There's no difference in because all she did was change her identity, but into a different person. And I know you guys think you're picking on the women, you're being mean, and that's not the same thing. It's a different thing. Well, let's go to the definition. Let's go to definition. Right? Let's do the definition thing. All right, let me read here. Transition. The first meaning, the process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another, right? From one state or condition to another. Let's go to the second example. The process by which a transgender person permanently adopts the outward or physical characteristics that match their gender identity as opposed to their associated with the sex registered by them at birth, right? Blah, blah, blah. So a person permanently adopts the outward or physical characteristics that match their gender identity. What is the difference? A transgender transitions because They want their physical appearance to match up with what they believe they are. That's exactly what she did. She wanted her physical to match up what she believes she wants to be. More beautiful, better looking, or whatever. She just did the same thing. She's no different than a transgender person. That's a transgender. You can't call it a transgender because she didn't change her gender. Trans beauty. That's a trans beauty person. And I say that not to pick on her, right? Because I'm about to make this point, and you guys are not going to like this, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You guys ain't going to like this, but it's the truth. Is that the lesson in this is she's just a perfect example. She's just an extreme example of all of us. Ain't not one person different than her. And I'm going to tell you why, and then I'll get to calls. Ain't not one person. Now, listen, then I see some of you guys justifying, if you say so, Joel, justifying. Listen, that same spirit in the transgender that believes that they're a woman if they're a man and vice versa, right? That same type of spirit that believes that is the same spirit that's in the woman that believes that she wants to look different. She wants to look better. She wants to be prettier. It's the same spirit. So as soon as you get the judging of the transgender, but your wife or girlfriend or you want to not accept you as you are or change anything about you, just know you got the same spirit. All of us. We're no different. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because everyone is deceived in the mind, right? And what I mean by that is that everyone is tricked into believing something, right? We hear the whispers in our head, and we think that those are our thoughts, and they're the lies. And they stay lies until we believe in them. And the belief in them creates the feeling that we feel about it, right? And that feeling falsely confirms the belief, right? Saying that, like, I have good features that can be enhanced to be a model or whatever, right? And the feeling or excitement or whatever, or the insecurity or whatever it is that we feel, depression, anxiety, anger, confirms the lies in our mind, and we believe it. We believe it. And anytime you feel anything, this is what I realized, and I realized it by watching myself. Anytime that I feel anything, I felt anything or feel anything, I'm blind. I go blind. Anytime you feel anything, you go blind. Anytime you feel anything, one feeling, is you're being set up. Because when you can see, there is no feeling to it. When you can see, you just have understanding. You just have a knowing. And there's no feeling to it. And most people are completely deceived by the feelings of things. And it's not to make it a big deal, and it's not to overreact, and it's not to judge yourself, and it's not to now do a downward spiral because, oh shoot, my whole life has been blah, blah, blah. But it's to make yourself aware that if you ever had a feeling, ask yourself right now, if you ever had a feeling, whether recent, long time ago, whatever, have you ever had a feeling, and do you still have feelings? If you say yes, then you ain't no different than the woman that's deceived like that and the transgender that's deceived. We ain't no different. But just know there's more. Let's just say that maybe there's a more extreme case, or we're better at hiding our things, right? But It's the same exact thing. We're being set up. So the solution to that, and then I'm off this. Forgive hot girls, Joel. I know what's so crazy. What's so crazy is that like I didn't know, and maybe this is just I'm just naive, and in this specific thing. Maybe I'm just naive, but I was thinking like, cause I live in Los Angeles, it's beauty everywhere, beautiful, beautiful girls, handsome guys, there's beauty everywhere, right? And I was like giving people the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, wow, she just beautiful. She got that together. Like she just like took care of herself and, took care of her skin, washed her face, like she just took care of herself. She just got that part of her life intact. She's just taking care of her beauty, and maybe she neglected the other things, but when it comes to her beauty, no, she took care of herself. She made sure to make sure that that was okay, right? I gave the people the benefit of the doubt. But then I just find out more and more that a lot of these people, these things aren't even real. They're bots. There's all types of face surgery that I didn't even know existed. You can flatten this cheek and leave this cheek puffy. I didn't even know that it was real. I thought it was just nose and lips. I didn't know you could change your forehead, your chin. I didn't know you could change your cheekbones. I didn't know you could do all that. I didn't know that was real. So then now it makes me doubt everything. Doubt every pretty girl. Except the ones, you can tell the ones that are like, just like pretty. Where am I wrong here? Where am I wrong? And maybe just doubt it, because a lot of the people that I see, and I just live in LA, so there's other people around the world that I haven't seen that I don't know, obviously. But the people that I see, listen, I can't trust it. Because everything, there's no standard, there's no common sense, there's no shame, there's no, it's just, I'm gonna do it. I don't want a belly anymore. I'm gonna chop it off with some scissors from the doctor. I'm not gonna work out. I'm not gonna get proper sleep. I'm not gonna eat right. I'm not gonna work on myself spiritually. I'm not gonna overcome my anger. I'm not gonna figure out what I'm insecure about. I'm not gonna figure out why am I afraid of everything. I'm not gonna figure out why I have anxiety. I'm not gonna figure out why I wake up depressed. No, I'm not gonna do none of that. Why I gotta do that if I can go take a pill or go to the doctor and they chop off all my stuff and give me a new one? So the solution to that, and then I'm done, is we're all being deceived, right? Deceived to do crazy things. Some of us won't chop off stuff, but some of us will, right? But we're all being deceived, even if it's on a small scale, even if it is to go eat that donut. We're all being deceived. And instead of trying to prevent ourselves from being deceived, we need to let go and stop trying to control life. And when I tell you that that's me. But I realize as of late, that I can't control anything. That you have to let go of control. I'm talking about letting go of not even trying to not be in your head. Just watching everything, because that's all we can do, right? Just watch it. Let go of control. Let go of trying to stop yourself from doing it. Let go of trying to figure out where your life is going to go. Let go of trying to feel better. Let go of the feeling and just watch it and surrender to it, because God has to take it away. And if you think that I'm lying, I want a Bible dump for a second. All you can do is just see that you don't see. See that you don't see. And real quick, this from Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourself. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. You cannot save yourself. Cannot save yourself. I brought the scripture up plenty of times. I've said it plenty of times, but I just want to remind you that you cannot save yourself. It is by grace that you have been saved through faith, so that no one can boast. So if you say that I stopped doing this because I didn't want to do it anymore and I felt like it was bad and I wanted to be a better person, so I stopped doing this, then you can boast. Then you can boast. Then you can say by your efforts is the reason why you're a better person or whatever. I don't believe it works like that. I believe the power is in the faith, which is giving it to God to help you to overcome it. And there's refuge and there's comfort in letting go and realizing that when those things happen, you don't have to feel guilty because it's not your battle to wrestle with. You just let it go and watch. So I just want to say, salvation is of the heart. God knows your heart, and He knows your heart by knowing that you want what's right, and you want to seek after Him, and that's enough. Your efforts is not needed. He don't need you to try. He don't need you to feel guilty. He don't need you to change your life around, because all that does is just get you deeper and deeper and deeper into it, because you're getting in the way of the natural flow of life. So everybody deceived, everybody trying to transition from one thing to another. Bet. If you are angry and now you don't want to be angry anymore, so you pretend like you're not angry anymore. You tell yourself, I'm not angry anymore. I'm not angry. You're believing a lie. You're pretending, and that's the same thing. If you're angry, just be real. Be real about it. Just be real. Yeah, I get angry sometimes. You ain't gotta lie. Anyway, I'm done. Calls are going crazy. I gotta get to some calls. Let me see here. So many different things. All right, callers, be patient. I'm gonna get to you right now. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any super chats here. Prince Epic, schools need God, society tries too hard. Agree? I will get to that, Prince. I'll get back to that super chat, because let me just deal with this really quick and then we'll get to that. Patrick out of Denmark. Patrick, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hi, Joel. Thanks a lot. I just have a simple question for you, and it is, how did you start believing in God?
How did I start believing in God?
Yeah, when did that happen? Like, was it from your childhood, or did some occasion in your life change you? Something like that?
I've never not I never felt like I didn't believe in God. I think it had to do with the way my mother raised me. My father too, but he wasn't in the home. But there was always God in the conversation, right? There was always just like an undertone. My family wasn't religious, as in we weren't like, we didn't Bible thump or anything like that, but there was always like a godly undertone there. So I always was taught faith. I was always taught to pray. I always kind of knew God was with me. I never like had a super discovery, of him being real or nothing like that.
Okay, that's great. Here it's quite the opposite. I'm from Denmark, and nobody really talks about it. It's just for the usual weddings or to get baptized. My other question for you is, how did you get in touch with the Jesse Lee Peterson show?
Yeah. I had an uncle who was also, a believer, and he was always into that kind of stuff. And then he asked me to come to a Bible study one time, and I went, and at the Bible study, Jesse Lee was playing on his TV when I walked in. And then we sat through the whole, I think it was a church service, and then we were like breaking down what it meant. In the last 5 minutes of the church service, I think Jesse was speaking about anger, I believe, and it just caught my attention. And then we were talking about it after, and I remember my uncle saying that that the sin itself isn't the sin, but the judgment is the sin. And I remember them saying that's what Jesse believed in, and I thought that was just deep. I was like, oh, dang, I didn't know it was like that. So after that, I just dug into like 1,000 JLP videos. And I'm like, either this guy is really crazy or he's on to something. And I was going back and forth, and then it just started to make sense. And I was like, you know what? The only way I'm going to be able to really find out, if he's the real deal is if I go to a church service. And then men's forum first, church, and then the rest was history.
Oh, that's amazing. What a story. I think the thing about judging the sin, being the real sin, that's a deal breaker. Just like anger is a deal breaker. It definitely was for me when I discovered this. And I'm very happy to be able to spectate you from all across the sea. I feel like you are my brother, Joel, and I'm very happy that I can follow these radio shows from here. Nice.
So I appreciate the question, man. Was that all?
That's all from me. Have a great Monday.
All right. Appreciate it, Patrick. Amazing stuff. Okay. Let's get it. Without further ado, let's get into what you guys really want to get into. I got super chats about it. I got some calls about it. There are some lines open, 888-775-3773. Get in there now. You guys know I'm only here for a short little minute. Get in there now, 888-775-3773. There are lines open. You can hop in there. Prince Epic with the super chat says, schools need God. Society tries too hard. Agree? I agree, Prince. I believe schools do need God. The world, everybody. And if everybody had moral values, right, then it would prevent the government having to step in to do these certain things. But that's not the case. It's not what's happening today. People are missing the mark. And it's not the government's fault. Now, I believe the government has an agenda, right? I believe the government has an agenda. But it's also not the government's fault that the government has to keep stepping in to do what parents won't do. That's just how I feel about it. And I don't think that there should be 1,000 laws. No, I don't think that that's smart. But I do think that parents are failing. People are failing. So the government acting as mama, right? Which isn't always the best thing, which is not the best thing. But who else is doing it? Who else is doing anything? So I'm not advocating for government to take over. No. That's the people's job. That's the parents' job. You should take care of your own life. But they're not doing it. The parents are not doing it. People are not doing it. So in cases like the school shooter, to where this guy, this young 14-year-old kid shoots up the school, who do we blame? Of course, he has to take responsibility for his actions at 14. But where did he learn this behavior? Right? We already know a little bit about his background. His mother was on drugs. His father raised him, but the parents were divorced. The siblings live in different homes. You know what I'm saying? Like, who were the very first people to influence the child? The parents. They missed the mark. So what happens when the parents miss the mark? The world goes crazy, right? The world goes insane, goes nuts. And that's why laws were created in the first place. Think about it. Why were laws created in the first place? To contain the lawless, right? Because people stopped behaving themselves. So laws had to be created for people to behave themselves. It's like to contain the lawless people, right? The people who are lawless in their heart. The laws were created to contain the lawless people. Oh, okay. Thank you, Derek. Derek was talking to me. But yeah, you have to, before the laws were created, and when I say that the mother was strung out on drugs and stuff like that, this is alleged, right? Like, we don't know her life. I don't know her situation. Allegedly, right? Just from the news stories that we heard and stuff like that. But these were why laws were created. Because there's people who weren't behaving themselves, so laws had to be created, so there was consequences, right? The government had to step in. The government shouldn't step in, but who's not stepping in? Parents, you. So I agree 100% that the answer is not the government. But then what happens now if, okay, well, bye-bye government, bye-bye investigation, bye-bye due process, bye-bye cops. What do we have left? We have people not doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't blame the government. I blame the people. Because you're forcing the government to have to step in. And the son was raised by the father. And you seen the father try to take him hunting and say nice things, tell him he love him and stuff like that. Okay, that's great. That's great. It doesn't change why this kid was angry. He was very angry. He wasn't guided in the proper way. So the government what they have to do. Like, okay, well, the parents aren't doing their job, so what we got to do, man? We might just have to punish the dang parents. And don't make it a law, but let's investigate this. Let's see why he's not behaving himself right. And if they were able to go back and look at his life from beginning to now, everybody would see that it's always the parents. If you have a child, it's your responsibility to make sure they're raised the best way they can. The best way possible. Because you're responsible for them. You brought them into the earth. You're responsible for them. And I'm the crazy one. I'm the crazy one for saying it. Lock up everybody and their mama, says Terry. If you white, everybody and their mama. It ain't even about locking it up. It ain't even about the dad getting locked up. It ain't even about the government taking control. It ain't even about none of that. What's the point? The point is the point. The parents, the lack of morality. The lack of morality. If you were moral, listen to this. And you guys tell me, callers, you let me know if I'm wrong. Chat, let me know if I'm wrong. If people were moral, if people worked on themselves and overcame and were led by the right things and did right by their children, and there was and in turn no school shooters, would the government even have to, would that even be an option for them to try to step in? Whether they have agenda or not, because I do believe they have an agenda, right? But guess what? Now they get to, let's just say they have an agenda, allegedly. Let's just say that they have an agenda. Well, guess what? Now this is their excuse to use it. Who gave them the excuse to use the agenda? Immoral people. So if the world was moral, then the government wouldn't have to step in. That's my point. So it's not about the government, not about the gun, it's about immoral people and taking responsibility for that. There should be consequences to this stuff. There should be consequences. That's just my opinion. Let me get to the calls, because I know the callers want to get it on me right now. Zenny and Harmony said, what point, you're scaring me, Joel, what point are you trying to make here? You guys aren't listening. Your ears are closed. You're not listening. I just made the point. What the? Let me go to Jamil out of Canada. Jamil, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Oh, Pop Lock Pops, what you dealing with, man?
How's it going, Jamil?
Everything is nice all the time. I appreciate you.
Right on.
You know, I was going to call and get on you about that same topic. And after hearing you, I said, let me leave this guy alone, man.
No, I don't mind.
He might find his way to Canada. I don't need no problems, Joe.
No.
I don't need no problem. Watch this here, right?
I don't mind.
I want to, in regards to the, in regards to the father being, I'm going to say this. I was thinking about it. I didn't want to say nothing because, you know, sometimes you don't want to let your personal business out there. But
yeah,
I'll say it. I'll say it because if I'm going to get on you about something, well, at the very least, I can be a little bit open. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
I'm a father, you know.
Okay.
And I, you know, with my kids, unfortunately, I have not been in a position where I am able to choose if they can go to school or be homeschooled or anything like that, you know. But I think that you are on the money when it comes to the parents have failed to a certain extent. Do I think that father should be sent to jail? No, okay. I don't think so. But I do think that there are things that happen in life before you know what's going to happen. There are things that happen, and for me, the worst thing that I could see is I had children, especially when I was very young. And now that I'm older, I don't have control on if they can go to public school or even Catholic school or whatever school. And it burns me. It burns me because I don't want nobody teaching my kids nothing.
Yeah.
If I had known better, I would have done better. And they would have, without question, they would have been homeschooled. Without question.
Yeah.
Because when I was a young boy and I went to school, and I think the perspective you're coming from is very important to recognize because a man doesn't necessarily want to control, but he wants to be able to do, you know, certain things to make sure that his family and his children have the best opportunities ahead of them later on. Yeah. But sometimes we just don't see it that way because we don't know. We have no idea, you know, what's going to happen. I look at life now and I say, if I could have done better when I was a young boy, I wouldn't have even had my son at the age that I had him at, because now I can't even control who's his teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do nothing about it. And it really, really burns a man. And I think the reason why people are going against you, I understand why they're going against you. But I don't think that they realize that they've been lied to the whole time. Like, I called in earlier to Jesse. And one of the things I wanted to say was that I think the entire concept of school needs to be eradicated, like reformed, needs to be changed.
But let me really quick before, just because I have some other callers, I want to get in this really quick. I want to ask you
Yes, sir.
on the topic of why do you feel like the father shouldn't be charged?
I put it to you, and this is what I wanted to get into with Jesse, but he was very busy. I understand it, so I put it to you as quick as I can, best way. I brought up to Jesse. I said, Jesus did not feel anything for us when he wept for us, but he was able to put himself in our shoes.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like, he was like, oh, I can see that the deception is very strong. I think that what a lot of people don't realize is that the deception is so strong. Like, this father, it don't matter. It really, how is it that he is going to know what he's going to do? You have to understand, either you think you're in control of your children from the day they're born till they're not.
Yeah.
Or you were never in control of them. God gave you the ability to have children, but he has a purpose for them. And your job is to basically kind of keep them alive and to make sure that they are on a path according to God until it's time for you to separate. Now, I have done so many stupid things in my life. I couldn't fathom my father being punished for my dumb decisions. But my father is a failure as well.
Right.
But he was failed as well. So there's this lady.
Yeah.
Her name is
Yeonmi
Park.
Your point is that you're saying that there should be grace for people who fail as fathers, and they shouldn't have to suffer the consequences. But don't consequences also help you prevent doing it again? Don't they just give you, not necessarily prevent doing it again, but just give you a heads up, or maybe a smack in the face or a reality check that you're going down the wrong path?
I think yes. I think absolutely a consequence. I don't think they do give you a heads up. I agree with you 100%. It's like you put your hand on the stove, you're gonna get burned. I told you once, then you got burned. You want to do it again? That's your problem.
Yeah.
Right. So you're absolutely correct. But there's a other perspective to it, and I want to get to this quick so I can let you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lady. She came from Korea, and if I say anything that's out of place on the radio, you just let me know.
I got you.
In terms of promoting things that I shouldn't promote, people and other stuff. Her name is Yeonmi Park, and she came from North Korea.
Okay.
And one of the things that she brought up was that when she escaped North Korea, she found out that even her neighbors were killed simply for knowing her. Simply for knowing her, they were killed. And when you say to me consequences give you a heads up, those type of consequences don't give you a heads up. They only instill fear. So again, it goes back to who is distributing the consequences, who is regulating the law, who is distributing law, and why are they doing it? You understand?
Yeah.
If the people believe, if children believe that my father or my mother can't tell me anything because the government says, yo, your parents don't even know what they're doing, you shouldn't listen to them. The thing is that this is divide and conquer.
Yeah.
The government is going against the children in the school, and the children are in the school for hours at a time. Sometimes it's like a whole work day for an adult. And you have the teachers sleeping with the children. You have the teachers sleeping with the shooters.
Yeah.
And the shooters are shooting up the schools. And I think the whole issue is that the whole concept of school needs to be changed. Like
I don't think that's not the, to me, I still keep going back to the same thing, is that like the parents are asleep at the wheel, and they've been asleep at the wheel for years and years and years and years. Everybody wants to be able to do, and this goes for everybody, including me. We just want to do what we want and just be free to do whatever. And then when things happen, we're like, oh shoot, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? But it's like, you know, these are the consequences that come. And God's grace will also keep you from maybe experiencing things too harshly or having to learn a lesson that might be too extreme, but not all the time. Sometimes it is a reality check for people. So that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, and I get your point, is that like from a perspective of trying to understand the father's situation, yeah, maybe there's some grace in there that that God would show more than what I'm showing in explaining my point. But
I agree.
At the same time, I think that that it shouldn't be free reigns. There's free reigns, and just to like let them let the guy just be, oh whatever, I made a mistake, oops. And no, there has to be some type of consequences and a reality check for society to realize.
I agree.
We got to get our lives together.
I agree, because even with me, there's things that I've done in my life, and I said, you remember I called you last time, and I said it's hard when people check you because they're not going to be nice about it.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. Here's what I'm saying to you: at some point, people got to realize, like, the government. The parents are messed up. Yeah. And it's the same parents that are messed up that are in government. I don't know how it is in America.
Yeah.
But over here in Canada, if you don't send your kids to school and you say you want to homeschool them, they're like, they want to know why you want to homeschool them, what you're going to teach them, and they'll be checking on you. They'll send social services to check on your kids.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the same people that are checking up on your kids are the same ones that will sleep with your underage son or daughter.
I agree.
You understand?
You're right. That's a good point. Oh, go ahead. Finish your point, and then I got to move on.
Yes, sir. No problem. So what I'm saying is simply this. The whole idea of the government coming in and saying anything, and they're saying to you, send your kids to the school. But if that teacher sleeps with your son or daughter, well, we're only going to give her this amount of years. Where's the consequence?
You're right.
What is happening? The parent school should be a tool. I'm going to say this to you, then I'll let you go, brother. School, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, it should be used as a tool for people that don't have the opportunity to homeschool their children. So that means there's a single parent at home, or for whatever reason they can't do it. They should be able to send their children to a place where they can be taught the things that the parents would want them to be taught. Right. Nothing more, nothing less.
But here's the thing. Let me just say this, Jamil. Let me just say this, is that the government, you're right. I agree with you 100% that the government is stepping in, and let's just call them, for the sake of argument, the enemy, right? Let's just say the government is evil and they're the enemy. You don't want them at all. Guess what? The enemy would never be able to creep in is if there wasn't weakness on the other side. That's we are to blame. But listen. We are to blame. We are to blame for the government even stepping in. If there were no open doors and open windows for the government to sneak in and do these things to your children, then these things wouldn't have been happening. And now when they're here, we want to be like, oh, this is not fair. This is not right. Da, 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 da. But wait, hold on. It is fair and it is right, because guess what? This is the consequence of the constant demoralization of society, of your family, and people not taking responsibility of their lives. We let in the government. We let in the enemy. We let in the devil. So there's no like, oh, let's not let the government do this. Guess what? You already did it. They're here.
I agree. But if you were made to let the government in, if you were made to be that way, you have to be shown that there's another way. There's another way. And that's why I brought up that lady from Korea.
And maybe this guy, the dad going to jail, will make people realize. But I got to call me again, Jamil. We'll get into more. If you want to call me again on this tomorrow, I just got so many calls I got to get to.
I love you. Have a good day, brother.
I appreciate it, man. You as well. All right. I got to keep the calls moving because I'm running out of time here. Kevin, first time caller out of New York. Kevin, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, Joel, what's up?
How's it going, Kevin?
Pretty good. Oh man, I've talked to everybody on the JLP network, I think, except you.
Nice. So happy to have you call in.
Absolutely, it's an honor to talk to you.
Right on.
Well, just like I told the call screener, I felt like I disagreed with you a little bit on the topic of the school shooter.
Okay.
But as I'm sitting here listening and thinking even more, I can see arguments from both sides.
Yeah.
On what they were saying, really, only because I'm trying to keep a level head and not get all emotional about the whole subject. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Good point.
But even before I called, the term had popped up into my head. I'm sure you've heard of, and everybody else, which is the age of accountability. Now, I assume, and we all know it's bad to assume, but right. I assume that your next question would probably be, what is the age of accountability?
Yeah, explain to us.
Well, before I go right to it, I must say that none of us even agree what the age of accountability is. Some might say that it's the age of 18 because you're an adult then.
Yeah.
But some might say that it's even younger than that because, generations way before us, a boy would be considered turning into a man around, the age of 14 or something like that? Yeah, absolutely. And then start a family soon after that age. Well, since none of us can agree what the age of accountability is, that's why it is even more important for us to reserve our judgment on the whole subject, because as we reserve our judgment, we're literally just leaving it up to God.
Yeah.
God, the only being who knows the hearts and minds of all people.
Great point.
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you've ever listened to any one of my calls from JLP, Hake, or even Nick.
I don't.
But I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I just said I don't recall, but go ahead.
Almost every time I've called, I've brought up the topic of apocryphal books that were once removed from the Bible. And to be even more specific, there's a book that's titled The Apocalypse of Shadrach. And within that book, there's a passage where God is speaking to Shadrach. And God says to Shadrach that he created man in 3 stages. And to get to it, what he says is that when man is young, God will overlook his stumbling because he is young. When he's a man, when he's actually a man, God watches him to consider his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then in old age, God continues to watch him until he repents. Those are the 3 stages of what was said in this apocryphal book titled The Apocalypse of Shadrach. So, I thought it was very interesting. I just wanted to throw that in.
Okay, so how does that connect with the age of responsibility or what you said before?
Well, what I say from here onwards is literally just my opinion, and that's all it is. And with that said, there's really no reason for anybody to listen to what I'm about to say.
Well, go ahead, just say it anyway, because I'm just running out of time here.
It's just simply that we should reserve our judgment, like I was saying before, because because how old was the school shooter? 14?
14.
Yes. See, nobody's even going to agree on whether he had a stable mind.
You know what I want to make the point really quick, because you made some valid points that I want to just address really quick. Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying as a whole, which is that we should reserve judgment because we ultimately don't know what God's plan or God's will is for the son or the father or whatever the case is. So we shouldn't get too caught up in that. And everybody's entitled to have their opinion about it, but at the end of the day, we should not be so I guess stuck on that opinion or whatever because of the fact that we don't really know. We don't really know what the consequences are or what it's supposed to be, and we should just leave it open at the same time. And I agree, secondly, with the idea of this age of accountability thing. I agree with that wholeheartedly because, they say the law says 18 and then back in the day it was 14 and all that stuff, but we can't hold the same standards to all around. Back then, people were raised differently, so they matured a lot quicker. Nowadays, 14. Nowadays, 25 is still like a child for the most part. You see 25-year-olds acting crazy, acting like children, and 30-year-old. So there's no real standard on what is mature and what's not. You just kind of have to observe and go based off of that. But I think you're making the main point and the best point is to not be so stuck on your opinion and let God be God, reserve judgment. So I appreciate that, Kevin. Any last comments on that?
Yes, that was well said. I can only speak for myself, and I know for a fact, knowing myself, that at that age, I had a completely different mind than I have now.
Yeah.
However, I wasn't too young to not realize that there are consequences for my actions. Simple as that.
Yeah. Wait, say that last part. That last part again. Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, I just said that at that age of 14, I wasn't too young to know that there wasn't consequences for my actions.
Oh, you weren't too young to know. Fair enough.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks for calling me. Call me again. Great points.
I'll try to, but it's a great show, and thank you. Have a good one. God bless.
All right, you as well. I like what he says, and I'm gonna keep going to the calls. I'm gonna try to get them all in before I have to end here. But I love what he said about reserving judgment. We don't know. You don't really, really, really know what is right and wrong in the situation. But in my opinion, government wouldn't be involved if people were moral. We allowed government to come in. And is it our fault? I mean, all the bad teachings of the times and all that stuff. Yeah, and that's why God's grace is there, because he knows that we are just messed up. But also a little bit of consequences are also in there too. You know what I mean? A little bit of consequences are also in there too. And that's just how I see it. We cannot blame the government if the government is only there because society is weak. How could we blame them? That's like blaming the devil. It's like blaming the devil. Devil can't even come in if you ain't let him. It's like blaming the robber for coming into your house when you left the door wide open. Oh, the robber did it. Well, you left the door open. So, of course, the robber shouldn't come in. Of course, but you also should have locked your door. So we cannot blame the government. You can't blame the government, y'all. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Hey, I could be for sure wrong. For sure wrong. I've been wrong before. Listen. I've been wrong on many occasions. So don't believe me at all. Not one bit. Believe me. Let me try to move these calls. Anthony out of California. Anthony, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, Joel. Thanks for having me on, man. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Sweet. So I see where you're coming from. I want to understand your position a little better with regards to the parents being punished. Yeah. I'm curious, what if, I don't like hypotheticals, but this is just an exercise I like to do to see different angles of the situation. So what if, hypothetically, the mom and dad, they had like a few kids, whatever. I think they did say they had other kids. But let's just say like the other two or the other kids were successful in the sense that, they have a reputation where they are, doing the right thing, and the parents know it and everything like that. But then you have one kid who was raised in the same home, has all the same influences, but he turns out to, shoot up at school. Can you be more nuanced about your position where one kid is negatively affected where the others are apparently not?
Well, there's two things I can say. First off, is I don't know, maybe I don't know what God has in store for the children in general. Maybe he has one kid that he is guiding along the way and protecting a little bit more than the others. So I can't say as far as that goes, but I'm gonna just give my opinion based off of what I think I would do or what I think the situation is. So I think if both kids raised by the same parents who are, let's just say, missed the mark and were not good examples, and one kid ends up being a school shooter and the other kid ends up being successful, right? What I think is that they both had the same anger, but they used it in different ways. One kid may lash out with his anger and maybe, I don't know, shoot up a school or kill somebody or do whatever. And then the other kid channels his anger to make him be successful or overwork or do whatever. There's still ways that just because somebody has money or success or doesn't appear to have conflict doesn't mean that they're not dealing with anger, the same amount of anger as everybody else.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's a great point. So I'm curious, what would it look like if, like you mentioned, if in the example you just said that both parents missed the mark, what's it look like if they make the mark? Is there in your framework, is there like a scenario in which you could determine, okay, if the parents hit the mark?
Yeah, what happens is, that's a great question. What happens is, in my opinion, this is what I would believe it happened, is that when the children are guided, they're learning their lessons quicker, a lot quicker. So they are experiencing life, right? They're still making mistakes and doing things, but they're making them young, but they're learning from them young because they're being guided by their parents on the right way to go when they make mistakes. So they're not bumping their heads 30 times without learning the lesson because they have good parents that are showing them what life means and what it's about. So they learn a lot quicker. So by the time they hit, I don't know, whatever age, 13, 14, 15, they're a lot more mature than their peers in school because they were guided in the right way. So they don't have these, let's just say they have these crazy thoughts at a young age. Well, they're quickly nipped in the bud because the example and the love that's being shown in the house is not giving room to those thoughts and those things. Those thoughts are believed, or if they're believed, they're overcome quickly because they're guided by love in the home.
I see. I see what you're saying. So, I mean, honestly, I really relate to your position on that, punishing the parents. But I do see, the more I think about it, on a different note, I see how society has a big influence on parenting. Societal norms,
Yeah.
especially, have an influence on parenting. So when you look in society, it's what I'm trying to get at is society isn't necessarily the best example of how to raise a family the right way. How much of the blame do you put on the parents if what they see on the news, what they see in the media, all tells them that perhaps they're doing the right thing?
That's a good question too. Is that if there's other influences of like school and friends and society and TV, but all that stuff is under the guidance of the parents. All that stuff is under the guidance. The kids just know how to approach these things, and also when the kids are raised in a decent way, they're not like stimulated in such a way to want to get caught up in these things. Like they'll watch TV and all that stuff and they'll do certain things, but they just don't have a desire to make these things their identity or want to be like the things they see on TV. They just don't have that same like addictive behavior, or they're not searching for something to fill their void, right? So they don't get caught up in these things. And if they don't get caught up, then they're just living their life and, learning as they go and just being themselves. And I think that's just the route that I believe is I've seen too. I know people who've they've raised their children in that way, or I know people who have been raised in that way and they don't have the same problems that I have. Right, the same issues that I have. They're more stable because they're not into the things that I had to get into, and now as an adult overcome. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense, Joel. No, I appreciate you supporting your position, your reasoning. I mean, it's definitely complex. I know we're running out of time, so the last thing I want to say, I mean, my personal insight on this is, I think it's significant. I think there's something going on with the medications that people are taking today. The Columbine shooters, if you recall, that is either Zoloft or Prozac. One of those pharmaceutical companies got sued after that instance because all the shooters were on either Prozac or Zoloft. And these are commonly prescribed antidepressants. So one of the main reasons for the lawsuit was because there was a small minority of individuals that take those antidepressants that exhibit extremely violent tendencies. And so at the time they were sued, and, everyone's still taking it. Everyone forgets about it. But one thing, just parents listening out there to keep in mind, you can't listen to everything the doctor tells you, even if all of society, all of science, everything online is telling you. There's another side, and it's I don't know. It's pretty dark. That's all I got to say.
No, I agree with you. The doctors, and you don't want to just trust the people because there is that kind of stuff in medicine and all these different, even the foods that we eat. They do affect your mental state and your health, and they don't help the process in overcoming. So you're 100% right on that. But I appreciate it, Anthony. Thanks for the input and the questions, man. Call me again.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate your thinking, sir.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. Nice. Oh, man. Last one, guys, and then I got to end. Let me go to Aaron out of Maryland. Aaron, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Joel?
All is well, Aaron. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Hey, man, I was listening yesterday at the church stream, and you made a real good point, man. That was a good point. I wish you guys would have went into that conversation, but maybe it was church, it wasn't a good place to discuss it. But when you mentioned that Jesse was explaining, I believe that he was explaining that the parents were blind, and so they shouldn't be held accountable because they couldn't see.
The parents were blind. Let me just make sure I said what you say I said. So you said I said that the parents were blind. And
no, you didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Jesse said that.
Yeah, Jesse was saying the parents were blind. They could not see what they were doing to their child.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's why that accountability should just be restricted to just the child.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, and then you were saying by that logic, then the child should also be innocent.
Oh, yeah.
See what he's doing. That was the point.
Yeah. No, that's, because if just to entertain that, if the parent was blind and there should be grace for him, then we have for the parents, then we also have to have that same type of grace and a different approach to the child for the sake of him being blind or not understanding. And that's the same thing. And that's why I went back to my point is that if the son is responsible, the parents are responsible, because anger is anger, blind is blind, but also the consequences are still there.
I get that, but I have one counterpoint.
Yeah, feel free. Feel free.
I'm still exploring this because this is a good discussion. But my counterpoint would be, by that same logic, then wouldn't the person who sold the weapon to the father be also responsible? And then if you expand on that, like if someone goes to a bar and they're too drunk and goes and drives and crashes their car, wouldn't the bartender be responsible for that?
No, because it's the person whose responsibility it is the problem. So say if I sell you a gun, the gun is no longer my responsibility. You own it now. This is your gun. So whatever you do with the gun is your responsibility. Now that's like saying that even though the son shot at the kid, let's hold the uncle responsible. No, the uncle had nothing to do. The uncle didn't raise the child. The father raised the child. It's the mother too. It's the parents' responsibility to raise that child. And that's as far as it goes. It doesn't need to go any more than that.
Okay. So can I give you one more counterpoint to that?
Yep.
So then by that same logic, then how come after the father gives the son the gun, it's no longer his responsibility and it's the son's responsibility?
Why is it no longer the father's responsibility? It's the son's responsibility?
Oh, I'm saying why is it still I'm sorry, I might have confused it. If the father gives the son the gun, then how come it is still his responsibility and not solely the son's responsibility?
Because the father is the son's responsibility until he's an adult, until he can legally buy his own gun. So that
according
gun,
to the law.
According to the law, right? According to the law. So that gun is not the son's. The gun is the father's. But even that, let's just say by law he was able to own a gun. That's not true, but let's just say the father is still responsible for his child until he turns 18 by law. So his job is to guide his son to make sure this stuff doesn't happen. And he just didn't do that properly. And it may not have been intentional.
That's a hard one, man. That's such a hard one because I know you're responsible for nurturing and guiding or taking care of the child, but are you responsible for the child's actions as well? That's a tough one.
Well, it's like if I have a dog, a pit bull, and he gets out the fence and he bites people, who's responsible? The owner is responsible. They don't put the dog in jail, right? Or they don't just put the dog down and then no. I think there's fines. I think there's things that happen because you are the responsible for the dog, and I feel like it's the same thing. You're raising children, and and I know I see how the child is also an individual. I do understand that. I do understand that there's a part of that in there that is like, okay, well, I'm not fully responsible for every single action, but then that's why I say that I'm not saying that the dad should get the same amount of same conviction as the child.
I get what you're saying,
there should be a little bit something in there because guess what? If he was raised properly, 9 times out of 10, right? I'm not God, so I don't know. 9 times out of 10, he wouldn't have even had those type of thoughts to entertain them to think that they were real or his, and he wanted to do. That wouldn't happen if he was, that I know of, if he were raised properly.
Yeah, I also agree with that. I mean, I agree with that wouldn't have happened if he was raised properly. Yeah. But, man, I got to tell you, I still disagree, but you're making some good points. I'm not going to lie. At least as far as I can see. I can't see another way around right now. But I guess I gotta keep digging around, man. It's good. I can't really find a way. You're right. It's your responsibility. If you're supposed to take care of that. You can't. If your child's crying out in public, you're supposed to do something. You know what I mean?
And I could be, and that's the thing. And I could be wrong here as well, Aaron. But this is just my opinion. Is that it was when we have the children, when we do the act, right? And sometimes we get caught up in the moment and we do stupid things, and then we end up in these situations and stuff happens, right? But we don't always get a pass for that. We don't just get a pass of being, stupid all the time. Sometimes there's consequences to that. And the reason why is for us to recognize, like, oh, okay, I got to get back and get my life together, get my life straight. So when you did the act and you laid down with the woman and she had a baby, then now it's your responsibility that you brought the child didn't ask to be brought into your life. You brought that child into life. So you got to take care of it. But
yeah, you're responsible.
You're responsible. So that's just all I'm saying, man. But I appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks for the
you too, man.
Thanks for the call. Call me again. All right.
Yep. Bye.
All right, guys, I gotta end. I'm sorry to the other callers. I'm so sorry. I know you guys want to get on this. Call me back tomorrow if you still have that same opinion. I gotta end. Prince Epic says God makes you a man. So if not, a man be lawful. Right on, Prince Epic. Appreciate it. Let me just see here. Carver, the difference, this is from Carver 531. The difference is showed less cleavage 3 years ago. Oh. In reference to the woman I showed that looked different from 2021 to 2024. Oh, she changed. Oh, she transitioned. Trans beauty. Thank you, Carver. I appreciate it. Let me just check these last super chats, and then I gotta totally end here. Okay, I gotta end. I'll have to check the super chats tomorrow. I gotta go. They're kicking me out of here. American Anchor, Punchy TV at 2 p.m. Make sure you guys check that out. I'm out of time. I gotta end. See you guys. I'll be back here tomorrow. We get into some more mess and all that good stuff. All right, guys. Bye.